All right. Welcome, folks. This is a continuation of the Trinity Nurture Focus Wilderness Rising Death to Life series. This video is being recorded by Virginia Bethune, who is going to share with us around the theme of music, and I will let her explain more appropriately and fully what that is. Virginia is a member of Trinity. She and her husband Dick both are. Dick is a retired Presbyterian minister, and Virginia has dedicated this great part of her life to music in many, many ways, and is well known in our community for her musical gifts. And so we're grateful to Virginia for sharing her expertise around music at the end of our lives. So Virginia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, and I appreciate this opportunity to share some probably unknown benefits of music, especially at the end of life, some attributes of music and sound and vibration and resonance that are healing modalities and ways that they can be that we can tap into these forces of nature, if you want to speak of it that way, and applying the benefits of music to medicine. So I'm entitling this presentation, Musically Midwifing Death, which is coined by a music thanatologist, a lovely musician and singer, Therese Schroeder-Shecker. Notes from a music thanatologist. And in case that last word is unfamiliar to you, the definition of music thanatology is a musical clinical modality that unites music and medicine in end-of-life care. Just to start with my credentials, I'm a certified music practitioner, or CMP, in the Music for Healing and Transition program, MHTP, which trains musicians to play in a variety of settings, including one-on-one at the bedside and in the time of transition or dying. There are 4 such accredited programs, members of which compose the National Standards Board of Therapeutic Musicians. Our program, Music for Healing and Transition, numbers 1,000 musicians worldwide who play a variety of instruments and includes folks in China, Japan, the UK, and Canada. I have been an area coordinator for this program with classes held at Sunnyside since 2012. Students and instructors have come from across the country: California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, New England, and Virginia. We have 14 CMPs, certified music practitioners, who live in central Virginia and the Valley. Most of them play the harp. We do have Ed Gant, you know, is the cellist. He's a CMP. And we have a vocalist, a guitarist, and other musicians. A primary goal of therapeutic music programs is to develop protocols which will be acceptable, endorsed, and yes, the stream, validated and supported financially by medical personnel and institutions as valid healing practices. Our program has published data with graphs, which you'll see later, showing positive outcomes of therapeutic music in hospital and other settings. A bit of the history. 2 seminal books for me are, number 1, Sounding the Inner Landscape by Kay Gardner, and another, The Healing Power of Sound by Mitchell Gaynor, an oncologist. Both authors are deceased at this time. As far back as 500 BC, Pythagoras, who's been called the godfather of sound medicine, called his method musical medicine. Again, 500 BC. A quote says he is credited as the first person to take an organized approach to using music as a healing technique. Fast forward to 4th century BC, and Hippocrates said that the natural forces within us are the true healers of disease. And in the 1970s, Marshall McLuhan was famous for the idea that the medium is the message. That is, our medium today is the sound of music, or vibration and resonance, which are the crux of the matter here. An application of music in medicine. Initially, I offer the following examples to support the concept of the healing properties of music, even when applied to the death vigil. Healing of body, mind, and spirit for patient, family members, friends, and staff can occur. Healing is not to be confused with cure. That's a whole nother presentation. These notes that I read next were included in a 6,000-word article entitled Full of Sound and Music, Signifying Healing. Thank you, Shakespeare, for the notion. I was commissioned to write this article for the publication A Call to Worship, a journal of the Office of Theology, Worship, and Education of PCUSA, our denomination, after a class I taught at Montreat Music Conference. At that conference, we had 60 new harp students over the 2 weeks in 2008. Following, just now, I will give a number of examples of the ways in which music can help heal. Number one, premature infants gain weight faster when listening to live music. Results of saliva tests show that the stress hormone cortisol is lowered. We had an amazing description of this particular application of music and medicine by one of our instructors from California, who years ago, about 20 years ago, had a granddaughter born the size of a dollar bill. She pled with the staff there to allow her to play the harp in the nursery, and she was turned down numbers of times. She finally persisted, and they said, all right, if we see that there are signs that this is disturbing to the babies, you'll have to stop. On the contrary, they found that the alarms in the incubators went off less frequently when she played, and therefore helped the preemies gain weight. The next idea, chants are chemically metabolized into endogenous opiates that are both internal painkillers as well as healing agents in the body. This description by, of course, a doctor. Again, chants are chemically metabolized into endogenous opiates that are both internal painkillers as well as healing agents in the body. A signature experience of chanting is known as that of the melancholy monks. In the 1960s, a significant number of monks became as limp as dish rags for a considerable time. After being observed by Dr. Alfred Tomatis, known as the Einstein of sound from Paris, he found that all chanting and toning had been banned after Vatican II. Upon resumption of this practice with its accompanying vibration and resonance, our two big words, V and R, vibration and resonance, the monks were healed. Our next example, a patient who regularly needed morphine when her daily dressing was changed, never asked for the prescription when harp music was played for her. A woman who suffered migraines had her first relief in 30 years after having vibroacoustic harp therapy. This is a program in which I've been trained, vibroacoustic harp therapy. Basically, with a client, one determines by playing single strings on the harp what a person's resonant tone is, and then the musician will improv around that key. Another friend who suffered a brain hemorrhage said that effects of guitar music lasted for several hours for her after the music ceased, and the pain level was significantly diminished. According to Dr. David Simon, let's see, this is the same quote I had before about chanting. I'll skip over that as we've already noted that. The next one is let's see, I think now we'll move to the graph, Jeff, and show that.
Okay, I'll get it up.
All right. Just to say, as you might imagine, in our efforts to woo the medical community into supporting and even funding our music medicine, we need to have data that is recorded and shown to how it makes a difference in a patient's condition. And so one of our folks, one of our CMPs in Charlottesville this is her particular place of expertise in the commercial world. And so when we play for patients, which I did at UVA in intensive care units for 5 years, there were 5 of us who were awarded a contract to be musicians in residence at UVA. And we had forms in which we noted the pre and post responses of patients and ways in which the music had helped. The process in introducing oneself to a patient and or family and staff includes the presentation of a RAC card, which is attached to this material, which I give to family, friends, and staff who might be attending a patient in end of life, and we describe this as a patient in transition. As a certified music practitioner, or CMP, my intention is to offer a ministry of presence at the bedside for patients, family, and staff. This service is not entertainment or performance. I use the principles of music, that is rhythm, melody, and harmony, to meet the needs of the patients. CMPs always request and receive permission from the medical staff and patient or family before playing music for healing. We choose repertoire which is merry, sad, or soothing. Published research data indicate that this use of music has benefits for patients, family, and staff. The resonant vibrations of acoustic instruments influence the body, mind, and spirit on a cellular level. Again, our key words, resonance and vibration. For the last 12 years, Ed Gant, cellist, and I have had the privilege of having a contract at RMH to play in units where there are behavioral health patients, either in locked units in the hospital or outpatient units. And one of my memories is having a woman years ago, a young woman, who told me at the end of our 45-minute session that she almost always was, her pain was almost at a level of 8. She'd had many surgeries and had a lot of metal in her body. And she said, I just want to tell you, after I leave this morning, listening to the music, my pain level is a 4. So what is my approach at the bedside of someone who has entered transition? Let's see. We are trained to observe monitors and patients. Knowing that the rhythm of our music could actually help alter a person's breath rate is an awesome privilege. If we are told to observe a rapid breathing rate, we meet, match, and move with our improv, accessing the pendulum principle, and we can see the slowing to a healthy heart rate on the monitor. Imagine that privilege, but also the awesome responsibility of helping to alter a person's breath rate, either slowing it down, which is usually the case. I don't think I've ever played for someone for whom I would target increasing the breathing rate for someone, because there are all sorts of different descriptions of the way a person presents at end of life as far as the breathing rate. There's a condition, and Steve mentioned this last week, as the condition of the Cheyne-Stokes breathing pattern, which is very, very irregular. And in that instance, I have played for someone like that, and all we do is just pluck a single string with each breath. We're just meeting the patient where he or she is. I've offered music at the bedside in a number of critical situations, and at least once when the patient died as I played. This person was actually the mother of the editor of our hymnal. Oftentimes, musicians will offer to play vigils, which can stretch out interminably. If a patient is experiencing, which I've just described, the pattern known as chain stokes, I just simply pluck a single string. The resonance and vibration released bring comfort and release. I think these are attributes of music and sound that you really don't ever think about. And if we do think about the situations in cultures where there are no pharmaceuticals, perhaps Native American cultures or places around the world where folks are very isolated from the kind of wonderful help that we get from prescriptive medicine. You think that we can imagine that, and for centuries, they have used the benefits of vibration and resonance from drumming and toning. And in fact, there's an interesting description of the history of music in churches, where citing centuries ago, especially in Europe, where the pattern was to chant. And when church music began to be harmonized, there's been a comment often made that the healing power of music was greatly lessened after the chanting melodies were harmonized. I'll just say that in the same article that I referenced in the publication Call to Worship, at the conclusion of that article, I included 2 liturgies which would heighten the use of chanting and focus on vibration and resonance in the choice of music and hymns for services. I was disappointed to see that when they printed my article, they left out these liturgies, and that was a disappointment to me. But using such melodies as "Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence" and hymns that are not harmonized, focusing mainly on the music of the hymn rather than the text. I would say that probably 100% of folks who plan liturgies and services choose a hymn because of the text. So I was suggesting that maybe once in a while we choose a hymn because of its musical structure. And even if we just chanted or toned on a single symbol, like the word Om, which I think has been described as total sound, perhaps that would be, we would find that a healing mechanism. Just to say that we're fortunate in this area, Shenandoah Valley, to have the services of the Blue Ridge Threshold Choir. This group offers their voices in unison and a cappella harmony in the Threshold Choir tradition. They use the custom-crafted, beautiful, soothing music of the Threshold Choir repertoire, as well as beloved other songs on request. Most important, they share a culture of compassion and respect for people at the threshold. I like that word, the threshold. These women connect with those who need their services through local hospice, retirement home, nursing facilities, and specific individual requests, and come in groups of 2 to 4 singers. Their music is a gift both to the person at life's threshold and to the choir. They never charge for their services. To attend a patient, they must be invited. I asked for a photo of their group. Most of them are women who are members of Parkview Mennonite Church, where I belonged for several years, and they're friends who provide this service in the community. They are not trained through our program, but they do have, as you've heard, they do have protocols for the ways in which they provide music at the end of life. To conclude, I'd like to read just 2 verses of a hymn which I mentioned earlier in one of our sessions. And then also quote a poem or just a lovely description of a therapeutic musician. The hymn is "Lord, Let Me Welcome Timely Death" by a well-known hymn writer, Brian Wren. Yet who would live at whose expense if in a brave new world sublime, elites enjoyed extended powers while millions starved before their time? And who could tell tomorrow's child to go and reap where we have sown if elders ruled for endless years and youth could never claim its own? Lord, let me love you all my life, and then in dying gladly say, your kingdom come, your will be done, while generations pass away. And one of our CMPs has written this poem entitled "Sweet Instrument." As I take you in my arms and hold you, I stroke and touch you with tender care. I want to dance and sing to your music, move to the power of energy we share. Hours are dear we spend together, time for mourning and bliss sublime, time for joy and celebration, for soulful moment and tender time. Through love and loss we've been together, with you my prayers to God I raise. In the quiet comes new inspiration, words of love and thankful praise. You are the messenger of feeling, the notes and rhythm I command. Sweet instrument, companion to my voice, sweet deliverer of joy through my hands. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Virginia. What a great presentation and a treat, and such a wealth of knowledge and connections to the local community and resources. Thank you for your gift of sharing music and all that you share with us. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I sort of have to, it's not a subject that many people even know to ask about, and so I just have to keep harping on it.
Well, we're glad you harp on it, and that keeps us in tune with what's going on.
Oh,